Making tax digital. What do you need to know today? Hi, I'm Kimberly Shapcott, qualified chartered accountant, property investor and entrepreneur. Let's sit down and have a chat. Making tax digital. It is coming. We know it's coming. The 6th of April 2024, we will be operating Making Tax Digital for all self-employed and property income businesses. So that means you as a landlord are likely to need to be doing something. Now, it has been confirmed at this point in time that the gross income of your rental will have to be 10,000 or over, or both with self-employment and your property income over 10,000, which means we know when you are going to be in. The key there is gross income. So that is your rental income. That's nothing to do with any of the expenses you deduct. It is all to do with what you receive in rent each month or week. So for example, if you're getting £850 per month from your rental income, that means your income will be 10,200. You are in. So you need to be doing something on Making Tax Digital. Now, what does that mean that you actually have to be doing? Well, let's have a look today. Making Tax Digital is all about moving everything from an ad hoc basis to a digital framework, which means what we're going to have to be doing is doing quarterly submissions to HM Revenue Customs. Now, before we didn't know when those submissions were going to be, but now we know that there is a defined pattern. So from the 5th of April, they are going to be every quarter thereafter. So the first quarter is going to include April to May, to June to July, to the 5th of July. The submission date is going to be 30 days after that, which means that is going to be the 5th of August. Now from here we can go the August, September, October submission, which will be submitted in November. We've then got October to November, December, January, which will be submitted on the 5th of February. And then the final one, which will go February, March and April, which will be submitted on the 5th of May. And that will be our new process going forward. We will have the 4 submissions, which will be submitted 30 days after the date of the end of that quarter. Now, that means at least we know when we're going to be doing things. The additional bit that we're going to have to then be doing is our end of period submission. Now, this is basically a summary of everything that's happened in that tax year, which will be submitted after the 5th of April. Now, this means that it allows for any additional adjustments, things that have been forgotten about, potentially accounting entries or allowances that we maybe didn't know we could claim throughout the year. Now, you might think, when's this submission got to be in? Now, this one is going to be in on the 31st of January, following the end of the tax year. So this is kind of like your tax return, but it's only going to show your rental income. So in addition to this, we're then still going to have to submit a tax return form, which basically will include what you've already submitted for your rental income, plus any of the normal things that you would include on your tax return, such as P60 income or pension income or interest that you've received on other savings, and all these sorts of different bits that you'd normally include on your tax return. And then you're done for the year and we start all over again. So as you can see, there's maybe a few additional things to do, but on certain aspects, things like your rental income, the information might actually be quicker and easier to finish off because you've already submitted all of it on a regular basis. So that tells me when the submissions need to be completed. Now, these submissions that need to be completed will be done for your property income. Now, previously we've discussed, well, how is it going to be done for your property income? Because potentially you might have property income with your brother or your sister or your partner, or you might have some in your own name, which means it's not just all the property that I've got a variety of different things. Now, on the latest updates that we've been receiving over the last period of time since the last update I did on Making Tax Digital, we now know that it's going to be on your income, so your proportion of that income. However, there is 2 specific things we need to be aware of. Now, this income is based on your UK income or your European Economic Group income. So if you have anything outside the UK, that will be a separate submission, and that will be the same number of submissions, but for that income out of the UK. Now, hopefully for most of us, we are just UK income, which means we've just got one set of submissions to do. However, we do have one additional thing to consider, and that is what type of income, property income, we are receiving. If it is literally just rental income from maybe your buy-to-lets, your HMOs, commercial property, whatever it may be, then this means that that is all in one submission. If you have anything under furnished holiday lets or serviced accommodation, this is a separate submission because this is a separate type of property income. So if you do have some serviced accommodation and you have some standard buy-to-lets, you will be doing two separate lots of submissions for each of those different types of property income. So that is just something to consider and something to be aware of if you have a mixed strategy with different things included. What will be included in these submissions? Well, there's a variety of things that are going to be included, which we don't necessarily know all of the specifics, but it's going to be the similar things that we currently report on a tax return. So it's going to be things like our income, it's going to be things like our expenses, whether it be utilities, service charges, insurance, all the normal things that we would tend to see within our tax return. However, we're just going to be doing it on a quarterly basis rather than a global figure at the end of the year. The one thing to mention here is it's not what has happened in that quarter though, and it is a cumulative total. So in the first quarter, it will just be that quarter. In the second quarter, it will be the 2 quarters added together to give a cumulative figure as you get to the end of the year. So the fourth submission will be the full year, and the end of period may have a few tweaks depending what adjustments need to be made to give you your final figures, which would be the same figures that you'd include on your tax return anyway. So theoretically, nothing particularly different, it's just more frequent in the submissions that need to be completed. One of the key things for making tax digital is we are moving to a digital framework, which means no, you cannot just keep doing things on pen and paper or just leave things in your bank statement. You are going to have to do something in a format that you will be able to then submit to HM Revenue and Customs. For our clients, we're looking at different software that may be available, things like Hammock, things like QuickBooks, things like Xero, all of these sorts of online digital software, which will, when they get going and everything's set up, will be able to send the submissions directly from the software. We're also looking at things like Excel, and you can use Excel, Numbers, Google Sheets, these sorts of spreadsheet software. However, these will not directly interact with HM Revenue and Customs, which means what you will need is something called bridging software. Now, if you talk to any accountant, like myself, we will have bridging software in place to connect that data through to HM Revenue and Customs. You may wish to get some yourself if you are doing it yourself to enable you to use this approach. That becomes your choice. But look at the videos on Excel, on spreadsheets, on the channel to find out what is there to help you from that point of view, and check out the videos on some of the software to give you an idea of what to do with them and whether they might be the right option for you. So here we are, we need something digital to keep. And then from there, we'll be able to send that submission into HM Revenue Customs each quarter to tick the new box that we are all going to have to be complying with. The final thing I really wanted to cover today was that do you still need to do a tax return? As I know it's a question I keep getting asked with the Making Tax Digital side of things. And yes, you will still need to do a tax return going forward. However, it will be slightly tweaked, it will be slightly varied. Hopefully it may be easier to complete, because I know the one thing that we tend to find is missing is things like information for your rental property, and we have everything else when doing the return. So hopefully, because we have that information being gathered quarterly, that will mean that it's quite quick and easy to do your tax return after the 5th of April. The deadline for your tax return is staying the same. So after you've done your quarterly submissions, you'll need to do your end of period submission and your tax return as it is by the 31st of January. So it doesn't change that deadline, it just hopefully means you'll be able to do some of this information a lot quicker because it's all together and easier to deal with. What if you don't submit the submissions? Well, we're expecting some sort of penalty regime to come into place, whether they start with a gently soft landing, as they've done with many of the changes in the tax system, or whether they are slightly more harsh in this circumstance. We will have to wait and see, as they've not quite announced what the plan is. However, I know we are moving to points-based systems and different approaches with some of the other taxes, which means we'll have to wait and see whether they work on that basis or whether they have a slightly different regime for the Making Tax Digital services. The key thing here is please make sure that you are submitting on time, as then we don't need to worry about things like penalties or what you're not doing. And if you do need any support or advice, make sure you speak to an accountant well ahead of the introduction of this, so you can be up and ready and working with whatever approach you are doing to make your life easy and really to get you into the swing of things. By using some of the different softwares, there's a lot of added benefits to using them, which means it might be a bit of a hiccup having to get onto them and get sorted, but actually it might benefit your property business and help you keep on track with things a lot quicker and easier with some of the great software that is available out there. Making Tax Digital is an ever-changing and developing topic, and we will be doing a further video later on as we get closer to the date of implementation to make sure you are ready for it. If you do have any questions about Making Tax Digital, what's happening, why it's happening, how it's happening, please do leave a comment and we can cover these in the next video when we update you with any of the latest changes on what is happening with Making Tax Digital. Hopefully today you've discovered more about Making Tax Digital and what is happening now and what you need to be doing to get ready for Making Tax Digital and making it work in your property business. If you do have any questions, please do leave them in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's make tax less taxing. Let's make tax less taxing.